That is a constitutional priority. It's not a question of if we're going to have a recession. It's only a question of when that recession is going to hit. And when it hits, the money's not going to be there. So restoration of the rainy day fund is absolutely essential to get it back up to the numbers where if we do face a recession, and remember, Virginia's economy is extremely, our revenue, state revenue is extremely sensitive to the economy. It's based primarily on income taxes and sales taxes. So when the economy takes a downturn, people buy less, people make less money. In the 08 recession, but quite frankly, we have got to remake those deposits that we put in. And so, absolutely, that's a priority. It's constitutionally mandated, and it must be done.
Thank you, Senator Wagner. Mr. Gillespie, your turn.
You know, we need to eliminate duplicative programs and services in our government and get savings out of that. The next governor has a huge opportunity, by the way, to get some serious savings in our state government through attrition. We have about 100,000 state employees, and by the end of the next governorship, nearly a quarter of them are eligible to retire, about 25. Technology introduced, and we can get a lot of savings in terms of government. So yes, we do need to cut spending. That was mentioned earlier on. The average income for a family of 4 in Virginia, according to Census Bureau data, is $135,000. Let's say you paid $7,000 in state income taxes last year. A 10% across the board income tax cut, phased in over 3 years, would mean that you would pay as we see fit on your priorities for your family. And that's the right place for that to go. What I'm talking about is saying for every $3 in spending increase that's being projected over the next 5 years, let's set aside $2 to bring down those tax rates. And so we can have the rainy day fund while also bringing down rates and increasing spending in those areas, but getting savings from cuts in other targeted areas.
Second green card.
You know,
Yes,
I've heard over and over again, let's make the cuts. I haven't heard one. And believe me, I love to make the cuts. Duplicative people, absolutely, it should be cut. But when you analyze the true employment of the state employees, you're going to find many of them work for our colleges and universities. They are state employees. We add more career technical education programs into our community colleges. We do these things. Guess what? We add more state employees because you have to have the teachers. You have to have the teachers. So it's easy to say. Specifically, I want to hear what they have and what their proposals are in terms of cutting. Believe me, we just cut $1.2 billion out of that. We capped all the FTEs in virtually every agency across the board. There are many agencies that have authorized FTEs that don't have any employees to fill. That's the situation, and that's the reality of what's going on in Richmond today. Please understand that. The General Assembly has been working very hard to cut.
Time's up. Thank you, Senator Wagner. Senator Wagner has one more green card left. We want to return to the question. Chairman Stewart, do you have the question? Or will we repeat it?
That's fine. You know, governing the second largest locality in the state, we just overtook Virginia Beach, by the way, to become the second largest locality. And we were stuck with the biggest recession since World War II. We didn't dip into our rainy day fund. We didn't dip into our reserves. You know why? Because I've worked very, very hard to become one of the few localities in the United States of America, only 0.4%, less than half of 1% of localities in the United States have a AAA bond rating status, and Prince William County is one of them because of my leadership. It's like a credit rating. It means you can borrow money cheaper, and that's what we've been able to do is we built schools and roads in Prince William County. We didn't stop paying into our retirement system. We didn't stop paying into VRS like the state did when times got tough. What we did is we went back to the drawing board. We cut deeply We forced each of the divisions inside of our government to identify spending cuts at 10, 20, and 30%, and led to the biggest spending cut in Prince William County history. And that's what I'm going to do in the state of Virginia. And unlike Ed, I've actually identified cuts. He hasn't identified a single nickel.
The next question, we have several questions involving the federal government and the overreach of the federal government submitted from all over the state. My question starts off to you, Mr. Gillespie. In what ways has the federal government abused its power in relation to Virginia, and what can the governor do to push back against such abuse?
Well, first of all, the Clean Power Plan was a clear abuse of executive authority, and it had a negative impact not just on coal country, but on consumers, raising electric rates as well. They need to allow us, and I'm hopeful with the new administration, that they will lift the moratorium on development of our oil and gas resources off of our deep sea coast. You know, for too long now, our state governments have acted like, and under this governor, they've acted like the, Richmond, for example, the Department of Environmental Quality is like the Richmond office of the EPA. The founders set up a system of checks and balances, not just across three separate and equal branches of the federal government, but the states are meant to be a check on federal abuse of power as well. And we need to have an Office of Federalism in the governor's office, which I will institute, that will stand up against federal encroachment over what should be the prerogative of the states under the 10th Amendment. The fact is there's too much overreach. Let me just say this about the other side, because it's important for us to remember. The Democrats are in complete opposition on all of these things, and so while the Trump administration is going to repeal the Clean Power Plan, which is a good policy, Ralph Northam says that he is going to impose the Clean Power Plan in the state if he gets a chance and raise costs on hardworking Virginians. Both Perriello and Northam oppose lifting the moratorium of our oil and gas resources off of our deep sea coast, which would be good paying jobs for us, and neither one of them supports the Atlantic Coast Pipeline or the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which would have an incredible impact in terms of job creation in the Commonwealth for hardworking Virginians, not just construction of the pipeline, but advanced manufacturing.
Thank you.
So, last week at the debate at Liberty University, Ed says I was lying when I was attacking him. So I do have a question for him. He doesn't have to answer it. This is not my official question. But does your book lie, Ed? Does your book lie? You know, you can change your website, Ed, but your book, it's called Winning Right. It's right here, right with a nice little picture of you on front. And let me read it to you. First of all, he calls those who will not agree to buying health insurance, he calls them freeloaders or free riders. He says that he's going to force everyone to buy health insurance. Doesn't that sound familiar? How is he going to do it? He's going to use the tax code, folks, to gain compliance.
In the book.
It's in his book, and you can see it afterward on page 245 to 246. He's been in Washington too long. He believes in the power of the federal government. Far from suspending its powers, far from reducing those powers, he believes in increased federal power on you to require each and every one of you to have health insurance. That's not constitutional, it's not conservative, and it's nothing that any conservative, purports to be conservative, should support.
That's time. Mr. Gillespie has chosen to use his second green card, and that will give him 1 minute for rebuttal.
First of all, I appreciate Corey highlighting my book. You know, if you'd met my college roommates 30 years ago that Ed Gillespie would ever read a book, let alone write one, you wouldn't have had any takers. So I appreciate highlighting that I've written a book. That book, you can go to my website, edforvirginia.com/facts. Look, there is a big difference between saying that you should have a tax credit to purchase something and encourage purchase, and a mandate. And that is a difference, and I was highlighting some of the things that were under consideration back in 2006 when I wrote the book. I also talked about health savings accounts as a good approach to health care. And this has been refuted. If you go to my website time and time again, Forbes magazine had a piece about this and said that is not supporting the employer mandate. I fought the employer mandate tooth and nail. If you got also... There's in 2014 when I ran to repeal and replace Obamacare. The fact is we need to have market reforms in Virginia, and I'll put forward those in our state that will allow for more competition and bring down costs to consumers.
That's time, Mr. Gillespie. Chairman Stewart has chosen to use his second green card. Chairman Stewart, you will have 60
Doesn't
seconds.
that sound familiar? I was for it before I was against it. Who else said that? John Kerry. It's in his book. He doesn't talk about a tax credit here, folks. He talks about gaining compliance. Gaining compliance from whom? From you. He's going to use the tax code to gain compliance from you. And now when he's in front of a Republican crowd, he says one thing, but when he was running against Senator Warner in 2014, he said another. And if you go to, he says, hey, check out Corey, he's lying. And you go to his webpage, even today. And I said, you're not pro-life, Ed. You're not 100% pro-life. You claim to be 100% pro-life. 100% pro-life means you believe that life begins at conception. He is against defining life at conception. He said it numerous times. He would not even commit to overturning the Roe
It's
v.
time,
Wade.
Chairman Stewart. Thank you. Senator Wagner, there's a couple of minutes. Would you like for me to repeat the question, or do you?
I think I remember the question. Unfortunately, neither candidate answered the question, so I'll try to answer it for everybody here. The question was, what are you going to do as governor? Roll back federal regulation. I believe that was the question, if I'm not mistaken. You know, it was interesting. I just heard Ed talk about the Clean Power Plan, how he's going to fight the Clean Power Plan. I've been fighting the Clean Power Plan since it was first presented. I missed these other two candidates up there in the hearings. I missed the statements, the letters that were written to Washington, D.C. I missed all of that about the overreach of the Clean Power Plan. Why did I fight it? Because a minimum 20% increase in every one of your electric bills. Minimum. Unnecessary taking down of coal power plants. I fought back. Ed mentioned the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Johnny on the spot and Johnny lately. Let me tell you something. I've been fighting for that Atlantic Coast Pipeline since it was first authorized, first looked at. I've been at the FERC hearings. I missed all these candidates at the FERC hearings when they come by to say why and what is it you need. That is a game changer. The Atlantic Coast Pipeline will bring cheap gas into this Commonwealth and allow industry to flourish throughout this Commonwealth because of that. It's very, very important. I missed that when I was called up to Congress because I put the bill in to say, let our people go, let's explore what's off our coast, and let's develop our oil and gas resources. I was the one who put the bill in. I even got Senator Warner to kind of sign it. Okay? I missed these guys when I was up with Governor McDonnell in the Secretary of the Interior's office saying, you need to move this thing forward. And we got to the lease
Next
sale.
time,
So
Senator. Thank you.
Next question on immigration policy. What approach would you take to sanctuary cities and counties? We start with Chairman Stewart.
Well, this is something I know a little bit about. You know, just recently, as I'm sure many have heard, in Lynchburg, Virginia, an 11th grader, a 17-year-old Virginia boy, was abducted by a criminal illegal alien gang named MS-13. They cut off his hands, they cut off his feet, and then they murdered him, and they dumped his body in Bedford. I put into place 10 years ago the nation's toughest crackdown anywhere in the United States of America. It's called 287G. And I've asked Ed to require that it be mandated throughout the state. He's refused to do so. It's the only way to remove criminal illegal aliens. Every single person who is arrested in Prince William County, we check their immigration status. We don't care about the race. We don't care about their ethnicity or what language they speak. We check immigration status. And if they're here illegally, we hand them over to the federal government for deportation. And so far, in Prince William County alone, we've had more than 7,500 criminal illegal aliens arrive. And that is what we're going to do when I am governor of the Commonwealth, is make that statewide and Commonwealth.
Senator Wagner.
Yeah, first let me be brief. We didn't have time, I got timed out. The way you fight regulation in Washington should take you to court every single time. And we finally got a Supreme Court that's going to back up the states when they come in front of that court and fight those regulations every time they overreach. Now to go on, what part of illegal don't we understand? I'm struck by the fact that it's a 2-year sentence if you're illegally in Mexico. Did you know that? 2 years in the penitentiary. Interesting fact, okay? Not suggesting locking them up, but I am suggesting a legal needs to be. And the first priority of the legal is those that have been arrested and committed a crime in this country. They are out of here. Fortunately, we have an attorney general now that's actually holding sanctuary cities to task. Those cities. As your governor will do the same thing in Virginia, we can hold their funding back until they come in line, and believe me, the state provides a lot of funding. 50% of all money out of the state budget. I want you to remember this as everybody starts to cut the fat out. 50% of every dollar we give goes directly back to localities. Oh, sure, we can cut back to localities, and you know what's going to happen? Your property taxes are going to rise. You'll hear from every board of supervisors. That's how it works. So take very, very seriously when you start talking about cutting the funding to any city in Virginia or county that would be a sanctuary county or city. They have to take very, very realistically, because a substantial part of all their funding comes from the Commonwealth of Virginia. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wagner. Mr. Gillespie.
We cannot have sanctuary cities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we need to ban that, and it's remarkable to me that when there was legislation that moved through the General Assembly and came to the floor of the Senate, the state Senate, Ralph Northam voted against it, cast a tie-breaking vote to allow for cities and counties to establish themselves as sanctuary cities in the Commonwealth. Again, the stakes of this election in November could not be higher. Tom Perriello and Ralph Northam, lefter and lefter, in a constant race to the left, have embraced the notion that we should have sanctuary cities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They also support, by the way, the issuance of legal identification to illegal immigrants, state driver's licenses to those here illegally, while at the same time wanting to repeal our common sense voter ID laws that protect the integrity of the election box for those legal citizens here voting in the Commonwealth. And they also support in-state tuition for illegal immigrants as well. Now, I know that these young people are not here by any decision of their own. I appreciate that, but they're not here by any decision of Virginia taxpayers or the students who are here legally and citizens of Virginia who want to get into our good public colleges and universities. And we need to make sure that our tax dollars are going to support them and not going to illegal immigrants, as again, both Ralph Northam and Tom Perriello support. And so it's just helpful every once in a while to remember the stakes in November could not be higher. We cannot afford 4 more years of a liberal governor, and to Frank's point, we need an AG who will stand up for these laws as well.
We have time for a red card. It's a chance to ask a question.
All right, thank you. For 10 months, I went around Virginia on my own dime, campaigning for candidate Donald Trump. This is directed to Mr. Gillespie. During that period of time, Ed was out supporting himself, raising money for himself. He didn't show up at a single Trump rally, not one. And in the aftermath of the Access Hollywood scandal, Ed was one of the first Republicans in the country to kick him when he was down, to condemn him. And when I got relieved from the Trump campaign for standing up for the RNC, through the RNC, because they were diverting money away from the Trump campaign, the Trump campaign created a leadership committee, and they asked each and every statewide Republican candidate for every office, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and governor. And they all agreed. Frank agreed to be on that leadership committee, except one, Ed Gillespie. So my question, Ed, is isn't it true, when the chips are down and Republicans and Republican candidates need to rely upon someone, they cannot rely upon you, and that you refuse to be anywhere next to Donald Trump, and he refused to be on his leadership committee.
Mr. Gillespie has 90 seconds.
I what?
You have 90 seconds to respond to it.
Oh.
Is there a question?
Yeah. Look, I supported our ticket as I always support the Republican ticket. By the way, let me be clear here today. If I am not our nominee and the Republican voters of Virginia choose one of these two folks on the stage today, one of my opponents, I will support our ticket. We have got to come together as a party and support our nominees when our nominees Vice President Mike Pence, then Governor Mike Pence, at the rally in Harrisonburg after the vice presidential debate. I was proud to introduce him this Saturday. After Corey got fired, I introduced him this Saturday. And yes, I did take exception to the comments he made in the Access Hollywood tape. I did take exception. To his credit, he said the same thing. Corey's the only one who thinks that they were great comments and then is standing by them. I've got two daughters. Got a wife, Kathy, will be married 30 years next month. And I want to make sure that we try to respect all Americans. And I found those comments to be offensive, and I still feel
You're not going to answer the question.
Understand?
Time. Okay, we've reached the time for closing statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds. We'll start with Mr. Gillespie and follow with Senator Wagner and then Chairman Stewart. Mr. Gillespie.
Look, thank you all very much for making time to hear from us today. I hope you like what you heard from me, and I would love to have your support on June 13th to be our nominee. I will run a campaign that makes us all proud. And more important than that, I will be a governor who makes us all proud. I will be an honest, ethical, principled, hardworking, faithful servant leader worthy of Virginia, and we could use one of those right about now. That's one of the reasons that I've got so much support across the Commonwealth. A majority of Senator Wagner's fellow Republicans in the state Senate and in the General Assembly endorsing me for governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Every single one of the members of the General Assembly who represents Prince William County who have endorsed in this race have endorsed me, not Corey. And in fact, of the 5 fellow Republicans on the Prince William Board of Supervisors today, 4 of them have announced that they are endorsing me. The only 4 have endorsed in this race as colleagues on the Board of Supervisors endorsing me. And Sheriff Glenn Hill, who had endorsed Mr. Stewart, he has come out now and said, I'm no longer endorsing Corey Stewart. I am now endorsing Ed Gillespie. I have support all across the Commonwealth, including the places where these 2 gentlemen serve, and I'm proud of that support because I will put forward a plan to get Virginia growing again. And I will make sure that we create jobs, raise take-home pay, and help people lift themselves out of poverty. I will make sure that people aren't stuck in traffic and that we can have better schools. I ask you for your vote on June 13th, and then let's unite as a party and win it.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. Let me just say this real quick. If endorsements mattered, there wouldn't be a Congressman Brad. If endorsements mattered, there wouldn't be a Congressman Scott. And if endorsements mattered, there wouldn't be a President Trump. Now, Ed went around to my college before I ever announced, and most of them have come up to me and said, Frank, we didn't know you were running. That's fine. I don't expect anybody to change their word. Your word is your value. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Virginia. I'm a Naval Academy graduate. I'm a Navy hard hat diver.